Well, hi there, and thank you for clicking on the video. I know, I didn't say it, did I? Greetings and salutations. There you go. Some of you just can't live if I don't say that. In this video today, we're going to talk about writing a script to make reinstalling your Linux distribution a lot easier. This is a script that will include a lot of software that you want to install and maybe some system tweaks that you want to do. That's the idea here. Yes, this video will be for more advanced Linux users. What you're seeing now is Ubuntu 16.04 installing in a virtual machine, and we are going to use a script to put a bunch of software that I like to use in there and make some system tweaks. So while that's doing that, let's go over here and take a look at the script that we're going to be talking about today. First, let me talk a little bit about bash scripting. If you are new to the concept, this is something that you haven't really looked into too deeply. All it really is taking a bunch of commands that you would type into the terminal and throwing them in a text file and then making that text file executable. A bash shell script can be just 2 or 3 lines, or it can be a very complicated interactive program. The bash shell, or command line interpreter, which is what you interact with when you open up a terminal, is very powerful in this respect. It has its own programming language in there, which is similar to the C programming language with a bunch of enhancements. And you can write full programs here if you want to. But today we're just going to write a pretty simple script. We're going to talk about some of the basic concepts of scripting. So if you're new to this idea, don't be afraid of it. It's actually not as hard as you might think it is. And I'm going to explain what everything does in my script line by line. We will go through it and talk about it. And that's where we're going to start out here. So the first thing that needs to go into any script is this line right here, which is called your shebang. And the shebang tells the system what shell to use for all of the commands that follow. And in our case, we're using bash, but there are other shells. Sometimes you might see a script that you download somewhere that will use sh instead of bash, and that is just the old Bourne shell, which means that the person who wrote the script wants it to be compatible with pretty much any Linux system that it goes into. That's a programming trick that people use, but most of you writing your own scripts will use bash. Anything that starts out with a hashtag is a comment, except for the shebang. Now, us oldsters, we call that a pound sign. So I may interchange as I go through the video here, but if you're one of them young whippersnappers that calls that a hashtag, just be aware of that. Now, anything that you have a hashtag in front of in a script becomes nothing more than a comment. It is only visible to somebody who is looking at the script in a text editor. And these are very useful because you want to write comments to explain what commands are doing. Not just for anybody else that might be looking at the script, but also for yourself. Because 6 months from now, you might not know what you were trying to do. You'd look at it and go, what was that all about? I don't understand. What is that? So write comments in your scripts if you're going to be writing complex scripts. And all of this formatting you see is provided by my text editor after I saved it. So when you first start writing, all of the text is white or whatever color you have your text editor set to display text. And then once you do that, once you actually save it as a file somewhere, it says, oh, this is a script, and it applies all of this formatting, which makes it easier to see if you're going through lines and lines of code, obviously. So this isn't anything you have to concern yourself with while you're writing it. Just want to point that out. So the first command that I actually have in my script is cd, and what this will do is just make sure that I am in my home directory when all of these other commands run. This probably don't have to put that in there, but I kind of wanted it to be there. And then we're using the old apt-get tool instead of the more modern apt tool, simply because it is a little less verbose on the command line. And since we're doing this in a script, we don't really want to see progress bars and things like that. And I just like using apt-get in scripts. So the first thing that this is going to do is to update the cache to make sure that it has all of the very latest stuff available to it. It's going to make sure that all of the software lists on the machine are up to date for what's in the repository. That's very important. We will actually want to make sure that the system is completely up to date before we run our script. Then you can install using apt-get as well, and that's what we're doing. Now, these little options at the end here, this one says QQ, and this one says YY. What they do is when the apt-get utility updates the cache, what it's going to do is it's going to not put any output on the screen. Even if there's an error, I don't care. I don't want to see it. Just go do it. And then the YY on the install command here, that means that it will just install the software. Even if there's an error, it will take the default option. It's not going to stop to ask me what it's doing. Remember, the point of a script is to automate things, right? So we're going to install this set of packages first, which are basic system utilities. And the one that we really care about for the script that has to be here is GDEBI. See GDEBI right there? Because we're going to call on that later in the script, but these are other things that I like to have on Ubuntu 16.04. And then the next line is just a bunch of more software we're going to install, big bunch of software here. And we have apt-get, install, and then YY once again, so it doesn't ask us for any confirmation, and a big long list of things. Now, this is something that I need to point out here, because what this little character does right there is when you use a backslash in a Linux command, it simply tells the shell to ignore whatever character comes after that. It's called an exception. And in this case, the exception is a carriage return, which is me pressing enter, which tells the system to start a new line. Well, in the middle of our command here, we don't want it to start a new line, but I wanted to start a new line in my script so that this didn't run off the screen and just keep on going, right? And so that's why that is there. We're installing VirtualBox, so we want to make sure that I add myself to the VBox users group. So that's what this does. And then the next section here goes and downloads Google Chrome and the Ocean audio editor from their respective web pages. Okay, these are softwares that are available for Linux that you have to download a file to install. Google Chrome is proprietary. A lot of proprietary software for Linux is distributed that way. And same thing with Ocean Audio. So what this is going to do is it's going to change my directory to downloads. So that's going to be our working directory. And then it's going to go download the Google installer file for Chrome. And then we're using GDEBI to install it at the command line. And you'll see here that I have the -n there, -n, which is an option that basically tells GDEBI to go ahead and install. It won't prompt me. It's not going to ask me, do you really want to do this? It's just going to go ahead and install that. So it's going to do that for Chrome. And then the wget program, which is a program that lets you download files from your terminal from web pages, it's going to go get the Ocean Audio file. It's going to do that, and then it's going to install Ocean Audio. And then the very next thing I have it doing is it's going to remove those two files, because once they're installed, we don't need them anymore. However, I'm putting them in the downloads directory, so if something does go wrong and they don't get deleted, they'll still be there. And so if I have to go back and do this manually, no big deal. They are there. The next section installs Simple Screen Recorder, which is the software that I'm using to record this video, and it also installs Spotify. The Simple Screen Recorder program is available from a private package archive, and so it adds that with the apt-add repository command. And then the Y here, what that does is it just says, just go ahead and do it. Don't ask me if it's okay. Just go ahead and add that, so it'll do that. And then it's going to do the same thing for the Spotify repository. And then the next line is going to go and get the public key for the Spotify repository, so the system will be authorized, know it's authorized, and go ahead and install it without giving me any flack for it. And that's what you have to do with the Spotify repository. Some other repositories require public keys as well, and you should only download a public key from a repository that you trust. Spotify is cool, so that's okay. And then we're going to update the cache once again because it needs to go and find the software that's available in these two repositories that we just added. And then I'm telling the system to go on and install Simple Screen Recorder and the Spotify client automatically. And the -YY means that I am not going to get prompted yes or no. And the next section here tweaks the system up a little bit. The first command adjusts the swappiness of the Linux kernel, which is basically telling the kernel when it should actually start using virtual memory in the swap space on the drive, the swap partition, or in a swap file if you've set one up. And we're going to lower that to 10 because if you are running virtual machines, you're going to be using the system for a host, or the system has low memory in it or something like that, then you want to make sure that it's using as much of the physical memory as possible before it starts swapping out. So in this case, it'll use about 90% of the physical memory before it starts swapping. Now, that is a really, really rough way to explain that, and I have gone into much greater detail about that in other videos. If you don't know what this is all about or don't care, this is not something that you have to do. It's just a tweak that I like to do. So what exactly this line is doing is, first of all, it's doing it as the super user. So we're using sudo, and then it is going to echo this line of text, which is vm.swappiness equals 10. And then it is going to append that to this file right here, which is the system configuration file for the Linux kernel. We do not want to replace that, so it is very important that we use two brackets to tell the system to redirect the output of the echo command into this file. If we only used one, it would actually wipe out the file completely, and then we would have hosed our system. So be very careful with redirects. We want to make sure that we have two brackets, which tells the system just add this line to the end of the file. This command will remove the Fluendo MP3 GStreamer package, which is superfluous, and that way when I go to play audio that's MP3, it will just use regular GStreamer, which is something that we need to do in Ubuntu if we want good audio quality. Next, we have a command that makes a directory called work, and it's going to put that in the home directory, and then the system will switch its working directory to the desktop, and in the desktop directory it's going to create a link to work. So that way I'll have a link on the desktop to the work directory. And then the very last thing that it's going to do here is it's going to switch back to the home directory, and it is going to echo this line of text which says it's all done, and tell me to restart the computer. Now we're going to have to do that because we've installed VirtualBox here. It needs to load its kernel modules when it restarts. There's a lot that needs to go on there, so that's why it's prompting me there to do that. And just to make sure it's all installed, we won't have to restart, but if we want everything to run properly, we should restart. So let's see where our install is at. We're done. So I'm going to go ahead and restart this. And when we boot up, I'm going to get this script and I'm going to run it. Now, what I would tell you to do is to make sure that before you did anything to your system, that you would be sure to run all of the updates and install all of the drivers. You really want to kind of do that manually. You don't want to do that in a script. You want to kind of watch what's going on with that, although you could put the commands necessary at the beginning of this script. The problem is that the system would not reboot, and we definitely need to reboot. We need to make sure that we reboot so that we're running on the latest kernel and all the latest applications are updated in the system. Okay, I'm going to have to reset this to get this to reboot properly. This is a bug in VirtualBox, happens sometimes. Some of you guys out there that use VirtualBox on a regular basis probably know what I'm talking about here. Okay, so now let's see if we get past that little glitch. And we can get our system reloaded. Yep, it's going to load this time. Does that about every second or third time that you reboot. Okay, so Ubuntu is up and running. here we go. We're going to get ourselves an Ubuntu desktop. I'm not going to update the system, but I do want to switch mirrors before I actually run this, and you can see how the script works. So to do that, I am going to find software, and I'm not going to install the virtual. Here we go. Let's go to software and updates. It's running a little slow because I just booted it up for the first time. And we want to go ahead and make sure that the Canonical Partners repository is activated. Yep. And then I'm going to switch the mirror just so this will go faster. So just go to Ubuntu software, and we'll switch the mirror to other. And the one that I want is that one right there. That's Virginia Tech. That's a university which is only about 250 miles away from me, so that is my fastest local mirror. I'll go ahead and close that. Yes, we do want to reload. And while it's taking care of that, I'm going to open up a terminal. And it's giving us that message because this is the first time we have ever opened up a terminal. And I don't have the video drivers for VirtualBox installed completely yet, so that's why it's a little crappy. Okay, this should be just about done. There we go. It's finished. So now let's make this terminal bigger so it's easier for you and me to see. That should be good enough for what we want to do. Okay. So now, like I said, ordinarily I'd go ahead and update the system at this point, make sure all the drivers were installed, but for the sake of the video, I'm not going to do that. We're just going to go ahead and run the script. First thing I'm going to need to do is get the script into the machine. So we're going to use secure copy to get this off of the host. And the host's address is 192.168.0.12. And the file that we're looking for is in the home directory, and it's called ubuntu install.sh. Make sure I typed that correctly. Oh, yes, I did. And we want to go get that file and just stick it in the home directory here on the virtual machine. Yes. Give it a password. Not configured SSH yet either here. But it did get the file, so that's awesome. So we'll clear the screen. Now, once you write your script and you saved your script, you got to make sure that your script is executable. You want to turn it into a program. If you just click on it as a text file, it'll just open a text editor. And so we're going to do change mod, and we're going to add the executable attribute, and then we're going to choose the file. Now, I'm pretty sure that it made it through the copy process and stayed executable, just showing you how to do this. Okay, so now we have our script ready to run. To run a script in your home directory, if it's just sitting there like that, you'll need to add a dot and a slash first, because that tells the system where it is. We're telling it, run this thing in the current directory, because the script is not in the path statement yet like all of your other commands. Your home directory is never in your path statement. It's a security risk. So you have to tell a script that you've downloaded and put in your home folder, or even in your documents folder or someplace like that. You need to tell it where to run it. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to do Ubuntu. Okay. And when I turn this loose, it should run this and install all of the software and make all the changes. So let's see what it does. And this is the first time that I have run this. So we're going to see what happens here for real. This is not... This is really the first run on this script. I wrote it and then started recording the video. Well, it seems that it's having no problem going out and installing all of the packages. And since I changed to a local mirror, it is going very, very fast, which is good. Moving right along here. And the way I wrote this script, you shouldn't have to interact with it at all. I mean, once we're verified that everything works properly, when I set up a new machine and I want to make these changes, all I'm going to have to do is turn it loose and walk away. So it is now installing Skype because it's downloading all those 32-bit packages. I can see that. Going pretty quick here. 9 seconds to go, and then it will start installing that last batch. Okay. So it will stop and prompt me to agree to the VirtualBox EULA there. That's something to keep in mind for future reference. I mean, I was thinking that this would install just all bam, 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 but I forgot that I have that in there. Alright, we're still installing those packages, but it is moving right along. Okay, we should be pretty far down the list of that second batch of packages. And then the next thing that it's going to do is go out and download Google Chrome and Ocean Audio and install that next. Alright, it is now compiling the VirtualBox DKMS kernel modules, which will take it a couple of seconds to do for sure. Pretty much after this, I think the next thing that it's going to do is go ahead and install the Google Chrome and get that done. I would pause the video, but as soon as I got the video paused, I'm pretty sure this thing would move on. So just kind of hang tight with me. Now would be a good time to take a sip off your beverage. Just chill and wait to see whether all this works. There we go. We're done compiling the kernel. We've installed all that lovely stuff. Okay, now it's installing the extension packs for VirtualBox. Now that what just went by, I think that's installing the OpenSSH server. Okay. I don't know if you can hear that or not, but my cat is right under the table here that I'm doing this, and he's snoring. So if you hear a weird noise in the background, that's what that is. He's asleep. All right, now we're downloading Google Chrome. And then if all goes well, we should install Google Chrome using GDebi. Looks like it's doing it. Google Chrome is installed and set up. Okay. Okay, that worked successfully. Now we are downloading Ocean Audio. We're going to install that next. Okay, we're adding the repositories for Spotify and the repository for Simple Screen Recorder. Excuse me. Hope I didn't blow your ears off with that cough. That just kind of snuck up on me. Okay, it is downloading. It's saying it's going to take 30 seconds. Don't know whether I buy that. Nope, that's went a lot faster than 30 seconds. Okay, that package was not installed, but if it was, says it's so not removed, said it's all done. So obviously, when I installed this, I didn't check the box that says install third-party codecs. I thought I had, but maybe I installed updates instead. Doesn't matter. No big deal. It did 99% of the work that would ordinarily take me, that would be an hour's worth of sitting there typing in one command at a time, waiting for something to install, and it did it all in the space of this video. So, very cool indeed. That script seems to work, and we can double check to make sure that some of those system tweaks went through. The first thing that I want to do is sudo nano, and we will look at etc. Let me see here. Yeah, sysctl conf. Oop, make sure you get that right. It's not going to work. Hold on. That's better. Just scroll down to the bottom here to see whether our line got added. Hold on. I think I've got the wrong thing here. So let's see here. Just let me out of that. That's definitely the file that we want. Oh, permission denied, so it says. So that was a mistake that I made in the script. Let's go look at the script itself and see what I did wrong. Well, it didn't prompt me for sudo there, so let's try that just manually. Hope you don't mind hanging with me to figure out what's going on here. So it is sudo let's see what we got here. VM swap bns equals 10, and we want to redirect that into nope. Get it right. Okay, so let's just issue the command and see what we get. Yeah, it doesn't like that command. So that's one I'm going to have to remove from the script and do some other way. This is probably because this system is on system D. And probably have to adjust this another way. Or let's just see if we can do it manually. So we would add and 10, and then write the file out, yes, and exit. So okay, there's something wrong with my syntax. I bet you I know what it is. Let's try this. Let's just do a single quote. I'll just add another line that says the same thing if this works. Nope, permission denied. Why is it not asking me? I have no idea why that doesn't work. Should work just fine. But it doesn't. So that is something that I will have to remove from the script. Anyway, thank you for watching, gang. I sure do appreciate it. We can just take that out right now like this. No big deal. Is gone. Control S to save. Yep, no problem. So when I save that script, I just won't worry about that anymore. Anyway, thank you for watching, gang. If this is something that you want to learn more about, do check out this little tutorial that I found from linuxcommand.org. This is actually a step-by-stepper, and it's really easy to use. Also, check out Easy Linux on Facebook. There are a lot of things going on over there. It's really cool. Also, check out Easy Linux on the web, and check out Freedom Penguin for lots of great articles about Linux. Thank you for watching. We'll do something fun again soon. I had said earlier that I was going to take a break from doing videos, but hey, got a really cool idea. So thanks for watching. Talk to you again soon.